We are not live. I'm going to go. Oh, we are live. Hello, everyone. It is Wednesday, May the 26th. Yes, May the 26th. Let that sink in. And you are tuning in to Woke Women Wednesdays when we talk about all things the Black and Brown breakdown. And in the time of COVID, and COVID is still here, y'all. So don't get too laxy-daisy. Even if you've been vaxxed, make sure that you take care of yourself. And you know how it works. On Wednesday mornings at 11 in the morning, you kick things off with my sister in service, Senator Diane Wilkerson. And then at 8 o'clock, I invite my people into the space and we chop it up and break it down and continue the dialogue. Tonight, I'm really excited. My guest tonight is someone who I met out in these trenches doing the work. Like most of the people that I meet, it was on Facebook, and I was so super inspired by a community that she had created on Facebook. She had a group, she still does, very active. And, I started following her work. I started listening to her passion. I just became, one of her biggest followers, if you will. And I don't think I even have to tell you who it is, because when I say autism sprinter and all things everyday education advocate, and now has been using her skills, y'all, to turn up the heat and the noise, also to address some of the issues that are happening in the Mass and Cass area. So I'm super excited to bring in Jahaira Lopez is in the building.
Whoa. What up? What up? How we doing? How you doing? Julia, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I have to start by saying thank you for a lot of the work that you do. You've been doing this work and organizing for a long time, bringing parents to the forefront of the conversation of education. And that's where I met you, and I felt very connected. I felt respected as a parent, because when I started this journey as a special education parent, I felt like nobody was listening to me. But you created a space for parents like myself to really speak truth to our power, like you say. And I appreciate you. And I'm happy that, you're in city council starting, some good trouble, because we need it.
Yeah. Well, so I just have to say, Jahaira, before we dive into your organization and the work that you've done, I just really want to acknowledge how much I've seen you grow in a short period of time. I remember we worked together on a workshop that we hosted in collaboration. And you brought all your people, we brought our people, and we were just like organizing together and building community. And then there was one day that you and I met at Panera Bread. I don't know if you remember this.
Yeah.
And I was trying to help you talk about how do you talk about your work? How do you build your brand? How do you elevate your voice in a way that can help you, just establish because you were already doing the work. Mm-hmm. So I remember we did a video. I don't know if you remember this. At Panera Bread. And I was like, it was so loud over there. But, just to see the progression of Autism Sprinter from a Facebook group, to a whole entire organization devoted to causing mass disruption. And you single-handedly, okay, you and your entourage in Randolph took on the school committee like nobody's business, and had receipts and showed up in that space with so much fire and held those people accountable. They never seen that before. They never saw Black and brown parents being loud, being vocal, being, holding them accountable. And you had receipts and you had the law. You knew it. I mean, talk to me about that, because that was a moment just to see you in that space. That's why I fell in love with you,
So special education is interesting to me, because for those who don't know, the school to prison pipeline, if you look at the research and you look at the data, is typically children who have an individualized educational plan, 504 plan. typically a child who's receiving special education services because they're having struggles, whether it's reading, writing, learning the materials, need accommodations. So I did not want my son, who was on the spectrum, to be one of those children who were going to be given an ed plan, and that just because he was given an ed plan, that he was just going to kind of be like pushed to the side, right? And I'm like, no, he can still learn like everyone else. You just need to make those accommodations tangible for him to learn like his peers and not feel isolated to his peers, and I took a lot, I took it to social media, started jumping in our local community town Facebook groups, getting kicked out of the Facebook group.
Remember, you would screenshot, look at what they said. I'm like, oh my God, it's getting hot up in there.
I was getting kicked out. I said, you know what? Then I'll create my own group. I don't care. And we started gathering parents, and we literally started tag teaming school committee. We would take turns. We would meet at the library to literally take each other's IEPs and like read them together to making sure, well, why does your IEP say this? My IEP says that, but our children are receiving the same services. How's your child receiving this, but my child's not receiving that? So we were comparing notes, and we literally, again, tag team, where if I wasn't there, another parent was at the school committee meeting. If that parent wasn't there, another parent was there, or there were times that we were all there, right? Or we took it to social media, tagged the same people, did campaigns. And I learned so much, because in this space of education, especially special education, some parents feel so powerless. And some parents that don't understand that an individual educational plan is a legal abiding document, which means that just like if you get a contract for someone to fix your lighting, someone's going to fix your lighting. You guys have a contract that says this person's coming to my home to fix the lighting, and they're responsible. And if they do not fix my lighting, I can sue you because I paid you in this contract. So that's the same thing with an illegal abiding document, educational a document. People are responsible to provide a service, and a lot of parents don't know that. A lot of school systems kind of sometimes don't offer the services because they don't have the services and they don't have the funding. But how are we working towards making sure that happens?
Mm-hmm. So tell us this, right? Like, I don't understand how they get funding for these services that are then never rendered, right? And then what ends up happening, and I referred so many parents to you, and you had to coach them through the process. And there were parents who ended up having to sue or even take their children out of the district and put them elsewhere. So talk about some of the work that you did with not just advocacy, but you also spent a lot of time educating parents about their rights. Talk about that.
So the biggest thing on special education is knowing your rights. Is really combing through your child's IEP and understanding that language. And also making sure that you literally read the documents that are sent home, what the assessments, any progress reports, and making sure that it shows progress. Because we even had a parent from Autism Sprinter who, in her child's last year of high school, she found out that her child's IEP and progress report were copied and pasted for years. But because parents are so overwhelmed with daily lives, imagine you being a parent with 3, 4, 5 children. You got to cook, you got to clean, you're working, you're coming home. And when you're reading documents that are like 15 pages long, sometimes you don't have the time. And that's what happens in our communities, that we're giving these documents that are important, and because we're struggling with our own issues, right? We're trying to keep a roof over our head and feeding our children, that oftentimes reading a 15-page document that the language sometimes doesn't make any sense, you don't realize that you've gone years of people copying and pasting progress reports, and you don't even know where your child made progress in. And here you go, your child about to graduate from high school, and you don't even know academically where your child is at.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, if how people can find you, what give us all your social media handles, how they get with you. Come on.
So you can follow us at Autism Sprinter. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me at I am the Momvocate, MOMVOCAT. Just, I am a advocate. I just added MOM, because I'm a mom first. And then my newfound journey advocating for those that are navigating addiction and are unhoused on methadone mile, mass and cast. You can follow us at SEROXBURY, Southland Roxbury Community Partnership.
Because I spelled advocate wrong. I am the mom. It's ADV.
I am the MOMVO.
Oh, VO.
CATE.
Okay. That way we can make sure that people are following you. I'm gonna put it up on the screen here. Everybody get with it. And then you did something where it feels like when I think about your journey and I think about the work that you've done, then you decided to take matters into your own hands and you decided to run for city council. Talk to us about that moment. And what that journey was like for you. And especially knowing how racist the town that you are living in is. So keep it real.
So I ran for school committee. So,
yep.
And that journey itself was interesting. I was met with so much hostility, a lot of negativity, because I was speaking up for the Black and brown children in my district, children who represent children like mine. And they don't like that. Individuals prefer to use diversity, right? Not Black, not brown, not BIPOC, none of those jargons, right? Because we don't want to offend other people. But in a district that's over 70% students of color, it makes no sense why our children are struggling with reading and writing.
Yeah.
In a community district of color. So people didn't like to hear that. People were stealing my signs, trashing them, or putting them at Walmart in hopes for somebody to find me because, my signs were being put on a business. It was interesting. And I can't lie, it was very emotionally draining. People created fake Facebook profiles, started attacking me. It was horrible. It was horrible.
I hope that you don't allow that to stop you from running again.
Oh, no.
Because I need you to do this. Mm-hmm. And you need to be relentless in your second round. Mm-hmm. And realize, and what I love about you is that you've stayed consistent. Because some people, when they don't win, they just go behind the scenes. But you have consistently showed up for Black and brown children. You have been consistent about the issues that you're fighting for in Randolph. And I think you should consider city council just something I'm just planting. So I think everybody should be running. I really do. And I think that, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, that there's been a lot of organizing strategies that you have been using to elevate your voice and get yourself out there. And while a lot of the work that you've been doing has been focusing specifically around mass and cast in Boston, but you've been on the news. People know you. I bet you go somewhere, people know you, recognize you. So I just think that you're well positioned if you are interested in running again to set yourself up for success, right? And I cannot believe we have 15 minutes left already. So I really want us to, I told everybody that we're going to be talking about 2 topics, special education and the situation at Mass and Cast. So what I have seen, I think it was last summer, you had posted something, and like everybody thinks I'm not paying attention. I'm always paying attention. I'm the biggest troll out there. I pay attention to everything that's happening in the city of Boston, and I may not say something publicly, but I'm in your DM telling you, hey, what's up? What could I do? How I can help? And when I saw you and Leon in particular first, you all were looking for some media connections. I was like, okay, here, call this person. Da, da, da. I was more behind the scenes stuff, but you know, to hear what was happening right outside your mom's door, to see what has transpired since that moment and the movement that you all have built. Now it's to the point that no mayoral candidate can ignore it, and every single candidate that's running has to talk about what is happening there and what is their proposed, plan and how to address it, right? And you guys have no plan, no vote. Y'all have been marching in the State House. Listen, talk to our people who are tuning in. Help us understand the dynamics, because we got people from all across the country that tune in too. But help people understand, paint the picture of what is happening in Mass and Cass, and why are you guys fighting as hard as you are?
So Mass and Cass is a humanitarian crisis. Literally, it's a humanitarian crisis. And on August 21st, I had posted a picture that included feces and, feminine stuff and, really inhumane things on my mom's doorstep. And, people like Leon, Domingos de Rosa, Carlos, Enrique, Janina, Ricard, Susie, who are all individuals who've been working on this for years, linked up, and thanks to Julia Mejia and Andrea Campbell were the first two individuals that responded to our email in regards to Mass and Cass. And what we're seeing on Mass and Cass is individuals dying of overdose, individuals engaging in lewd acts on private and public property, on school property, needles, illegally discarded needles that got blood, needles that got drugs in it, discarded everywhere. It's sad. Every year, hundreds of more people come to that location, and it just feels like things are getting worse. They're not getting better. The crime, individuals are being stabbed. We connected with a mother, Ashley, whose son's name Damian Hughes, who was brutally stabbed on Mass and Cass at the Southampton Street Jail, literally feet away from the front door of the shelter, by someone who was banned from that location. Today, we get a message from a mother whose son died, who she found out her son died 4 months before she was informed in September 20th of 2018, and found out 2 days before her son was going to be buried under unknown. And we get these messages all the time, Julia. We get them in the DMs and on Twitter, on Instagram. We're partnering up with individuals who are in recovery. Mm-hmm. So huge shout out to the Mass Ave Project, who's been one of our closest partners. Damian Hughes' mom, who's now launching her own page to talk about her story. Chris's project, who's a sibling, whose brother passed away of an overdose. We have so many partners, and it's just, honestly, Julia, I can't even say anything more besides it's a humanitarian crisis.
It absolutely is. And, I often talk about the fact that when I started my career, I know I'm older, but when I started my career, I was a community health worker. Mm-hmm. And I was doing HIV and AIDS prevention at a time when heroin was at its all-time high. And I was in the Orchard Gardens area, talking about harm reduction and how to clean your needles and how to utilize a condom and all of that. Now, that was in the 90s. Okay? So I just want people to know that this issue, right, has been a problem in Boston, but the problem that continues to exist is the complete disregard.
Yeah.
Right? And it's gotten so bad now that it's out of control. And I'm curious, and I know that you guys I mean, when I talk about your organizing strategy was like, it still is like flawless, right? You started off with bringing all the electeds accountable for individual chats. Y'all didn't have like y'all brought us in and was like accountability, right? So everyone who went into that space, you know, talked about it from whatever lane that they operate in. And, you know, I walked away with my marching orders. I did what I was asked to do. And you know what I've come to realize though, and what really strikes me as interesting is that because it's such in a concentrated area, it becomes like, well, that's not my district, or that's not the lane. I mean, I talk about, I'm not in any of the 3 committees that handle any of the issues that are bubbling up to the top, but I am an at-large counselor. And regardless of whether or not that's my district, those are my people. Right? You know, the residents that are living these realities, and then also the folks who are out in these streets. You know, I have my own people out in those streets, right? So it is that tension about leading with humanity and compassion and striking a balance of what it is that we're going to do. But I have yet, with all of the organizing and all of the demands that you guys have made, I have yet to hear, right, who it is that has the power to change it. Who is it? Have you guys cracked that Da Vinci Code? Because I don't know who it is. Who is it?
That's it's like finding Waldo. We don't know. And like you said, every time we reach out to different individuals, oh, that's not my district. That's not the committee I sit on. Oh, the city of Boston deals with this. Oh no, you got to reach out to the state. And I think that collectively as a group, we try to start with being engaging and having a communication. But honestly, Julia, the tensions are getting higher, right?
And the stakes are too. The stakes are getting higher, Jahida. Someone's coming. If this is what it looks like now, just imagine when the heat rises. Like, it's just gonna get worse.
And that's the problem. And I think that's what we're saying. We're saying women are being raped down here.
Right.
People are dying.
I saw that post the other day.
It's horrible.
But what does the state say?
We don't know. That it's almost laughable, because it's just like, who do we ask questions to? We've put in FOIA requests. There's a mass and cast task force that we don't. On the city's website, it doesn't even have listed who's on this task force. The meeting,
they had a meeting with y'all, right? I think I went to that meeting.
They haven't met with us. We met with the community response team. We met with the community response team, which has the city of Boston, the Boston Police Department, the Boston Public Health Commission.
I was at that meeting.
Yep. But as far as the mass and cast task force, we have not met with them. Again, we don't even know who's on that task force. The task force was created in 2019, 18. There's no like meeting dates where you and I or the community businesses can say, okay, they meet once a month on.
Here's the minutes. Here's what was discussed. Okay, so let me ask you this question: Who did Andrea do a 4-year for you guys on that? Like, it's like who on the council is helping you all get that data? Because I think our data was just more around the financials and the nonprofits. So we got you that data, but who's getting you the task force data?
We did that on our own. We put in a FOIA request, and then there was a journalist, young man from, I believe his website was The Substantive. Him and Marla Murphy Smith, who's a resident around Clifford Park, them two kind of tag team it and file the FOIA. It took them almost 2-3 months to get the meeting minutes reports. They weren't even consistent, and it showed that individuals who are sitting in certain committees on a city level and on a state level barely even attended these meetings. So there was no representation for those that sit in committees and sit, in places to advocate for the community and those navigating addiction and homelessness.
Okay, so then that's a problem right there, right? So there's an opportunity there to revamp the task force and ensure that the people who are living the realities are in that space, informing what the policies and the procedures and the protocols that need to be in place, right? Because it goes back to nothing about us without us is for us. And every single day, these are the sort of things that, okay, so then that is something very concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where are you all in that advocacy in terms of trying to dismantle the existing task force and get a seat at the table? Where y'all at with that?
So that's how the no plan, no vote came about, because we have made no headway in gaining access to critical information. So we just decided to say, you know what? Why are we hitting so many roadblocks? So since it's campaign season, we want to join campaign season, and we're saying our votes are as valuable to our community than how you outreach to us and you want us to vote for us. So if you want us to vote for you, or you want my mother, and I have a family of 10, 20 people that can vote for you, right? If you want my family's vote, you have to show me that you earned my family's vote, because you're going to tell us how you're going to secure not only the safety of individuals that are mass and cast, but the safety of the businesses, the residents.
And out of the mayoral candidates, who do you think, and I don't know, I everybody has a plan for everything. I'm just curious about who do you think is leading in that space, or at least who do you feel has a plan that is realistic? Because sometimes things sound really beautiful, but I need a translator to understand it. Like where, I mean, it's not an endorsement, but who has been, where have you seen some energy really coming to be in community with you all on this?
I would say consistently, Andrea Campbell has been the most consistent person as a mayoral candidate to communicate with us. She invited us to the release of her plan, which was literally almost everything that we've asked for in our petitions.
Wow! Wait a minute, that's a win.
Yeah.
You gotta celebrate that win, Jahaira.
And that meeting was awesome, because she had individuals from the harm reduction space. She had people from the Boston Care for the Homelessness program. She had representation from all the sources that are addressing mass and cast.
And she had you guys.
And she invited us.
Because let me just tell you, not everybody gets invited to every table. And you know what's up with that. Because they're the certain people, they only invite the people that they think that they can get along with. And that is really impressive. Wait, so, okay, but with the task force, is that in the plan too, to like?
Yeah, to kind of basically revamp the task force. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And bring at least
you guys create your own.
Yeah.
Why don't you create your own?
Yeah, I mean, we're trying. That's why we're bringing so many partners to the space. I know John Santiago also has been communicative. His who's now his policy director, Corey Amazon attended many of our demonstrations, actually.
Okay,
he's had his representative. We've met with John Santiago. And then I know most recently, Anissa Sabi George released her plan, but we've only met with her once. But
does her plan address some of the things that you guys are looking for too?
A lot of it, again, it's most of the stuff that we put out there, literally.
Do you think that's I just need you all and all of your colleagues who are listening in to recognize these big wins. They're not little, because what you have done is you've changed the conversation.
Yeah.
And you've stood your ground on what it is that you all want to see. And that speaking truth to power, they're listening. They're listening, and I think that you all should feel really proud. And I mean, not much is changing as fast as it needs to, but I mean, that's incredible. You should feel really proud of that work.
We do. And I think that we are happy. Obviously there's mixed feelings about so many things, because we're like, why can't it happen now? The last time that Andrea Campbell met with residents and other candidates and community leaders and healthcare professionals. So huge shout out to Leon Rivera, who, asked Andrea Campbell to challenge other mayoral candidates and challenge the current mayor to a 30-day challenge to see what the current mayor can do in the next 30 days to address mass incarceration. So a huge shout out to Andrea Campbell for actually challenging that and inviting us, through email by telling us, hey, listen, I did what y'all said. I'm trying, right? So, we're excited. And we're happy that methadone mile, mass incarceration is on the top 5 things that are being discussed in this mayoral candidacy. And we need your help to make it the top 3. We need it to be like 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah. So I love it. And here's the deal, right? Mm-hmm. That people across the city need to recognize that this is an issue that's impacting everybody, not just the people who are living in that area. Mm-hmm. I think that people need to recognize that. When people ask me what my plan is for anything, I'm a community organizer. I'm about building political power. My plan is to get as many people inside City Hall that are going to help us push the work, because that is what's missing. Mm-hmm. Is more like-minded people sharing a collective vision, because then we can all vote accordingly for the things that we want to see, if we're all in the same line of thinking, right? And I think that is really powerful. And while people think that, well, I need, they want a thesis and a whole report. Like for me, my plan is really simple. It's building political power inside and outside, because I'm gonna tell you, that is what's missing right now, is that muscle inside there. Mm-hmm. And so I know that, that may not be satisfactory to a lot of people, but I do know that as a counselor, the way we've tackled, even looking at, we filed an ordinance to have a literacy task force for 3 reasons. One is we know that our returning citizens who ended up locked up, a lot of them are struggling to read and write, and they can't fill out a job application. Yeah. So recidivism is harder for folks when you are already struggling with reading and writing. So we need to do an assessment of that. That can help disrupt some of the violence if we can just kind of identify that.
But we see this on mass incarceration, though, Julia.
Right. Well, all day, every day, right?
People released from prison have nowhere to go, no identification, do not even speak English sometimes, and that are just out there.
And then the other 2 segments of the population with this literacy task force that we're going to implement soon is that builds the school to prison pipeline. When you have young people who are struggling to read in the 3rd, grade, reading, having a hard time in the 3rd and 4th grade reading level, but they're in the 9th and 10th, their social and emotional well-being and how they show up is called disruptive, right? And that's feeding DYS. Mm-hmm. So we need to dismantle the school to prison pipeline, and looking at the literacy rates in the city of Boston and holding the district accountable to that, I think could address some of that. And then the last piece of this literacy task force is for people who have had interrupted education, because not everybody has gone through kindergarten through 12th, right? Some folks have dropped out. Some have dropped out in the 8th grade. Some have dropped out in the 3rd. Some come to this country and don't know how to read and write even in their native language. So while people might think that that's not a big structural change, but that task force, and because the last time they did an assessment on literacy rates was in 2003. If we do something now, we can identify what are those problem points, and then create viable solutions to address that, then we are tackling the structural problems, right? Because this is how I think. I think that sometimes the little things that we do can make a big difference, which is the same thing that we did with the residential kitchens. Everybody's talking about the wealth gap, which is for a Black household is $8, and for a white household is $240. The residential kitchen, you might think, well, who's going to get rich off of that? But let me just tell you this, that residential kitchen can help supplement somebody's income. You can be a mom and work from your house and take care of your kids, and instead of going to Target and working and having your kids unsupervised. those little things make a big difference. And that's kind of the way that I kind of like tackle I'm trying to do whatever little things that I could do that I think could help alleviate some of the issues of poverty, because that's really one of the things that I deeply care about. So I say all of this is that you all have managed through your advocacy efforts, the way you have moved, you're moving and have shifted the conversation. And I applaud you all for that. And, a lot of people are like, yo, they're coming for you. I'm like, it's all good. That's my job. My job is to be accountable to the people who put me in office, right? And I have no problem showing up, because that's part of our job too. And here's the last thing that I'll say, and then I'll give you some time to close things out, is that people also need to understand what the role of a city councilor is. There's a lot of misconceptions about what it is that we can and cannot do. So for folks who are tuning in, this is what I've had to learn over the last 15 months that I've been in office, is that, first of all, our main priority is constituent services. So when our constituents call us with an issue that they're trying to navigate city services, whether it's a pothole, a birth certificate, housing, food insecurity, workforce development, all of the city agencies, our role is to help our constituents navigate city services and connect them to those resources that exist that will help alleviate, right, whatever cause of concern that they have. And I've named a few: birth certificates, housing. I mean, like, those are the sort of things, right? The other piece of our work is helping people navigate the system, because it's very complex. To fill out, like, our office, we've focused a lot on small businesses and help them access grants and support services for them to thrive, because they didn't know about the resources that exist, because Boston is resource rich and coordination poor. Yeah. That's our job. Then the last thing is we file, the budget is our big piece. So we can pass or deny the budget based on our values. And that's why I always take my lead from the people. That's our biggest responsibility, and then we file ordinances and host public hearings so that we can get a sense of how an issue is impacting people. And then based on what we learn is draft up a piece of legislation that could help address that issue. And I think that is what's been missing from Mass and Cass. I feel like that is what is missing from Mass and Cass, is that level of thoughts about who is going to rise up to lead it. And I'm happy to see a lot of our mayoral candidates, because once they get into office, they have so much more power than the city council. Like, don't get it twisted. People can yell at us all day, but the power lies in that 5th floor, in the corner office, in the state house, with the governor, and even on the federal level, right? Because no one's holding these doctors accountable to these prescriptions that they're writing. Yeah. So I just think that there's a level of managing expectations that we all need to do. And that's why I asked you, who is the person that has the power? And the fact that y'all still don't know, and I don't know, because I've been spinning my head and I've been inside this building trying to figure it out myself, speaks volumes to how much work still needs to be done.
It's true. It's true. We don't, and that's the sad part, because that's why I'm always like, make it make sense, because I can't make sense of who do we call for certain things. So who do we call to decentralize other services there? Who do we get to update zoning laws that have not been updated, both on a city level, on a state level, for a long time? What does decentralizing look like? Because the reality is that our communities are called NIMBYs. We've been called NIMBYs, which is not in my backyard. But meanwhile, everything that's happening in Mass and Cass is what other communities outside of the city of Boston are failing to address in their backyard. That they're failing to understand that addiction can happen anywhere. My backyard, your backyard, miles away, in the ocean, all the way in Puerto Rico, right? It can happen anywhere. And so We don't know. And I think to me and for us is the most confusing part of this work is that we don't even know who to talk to anymore. We don't know who's going to lead us to information to do this work appropriately, because the reality is that I don't think any of us want to continue to address our politicians, whether it's in a rude way or in a good way. We just want somebody to address the issue that's happening.
You just want results.
We just want action.
We just want to know who has the power and who's gonna make it happen.
Yep.
And that's it. It's like I think we all want to know that. I'm a city councilor, and I've been watching. I share all y'all stuff. I talk about y'all in my city council meetings. I bring your voices into whatever spaces that I'm in. But this is one of the most frustrating issues, and I do believe that you all are doing such a great job, and I'm so incredibly grateful for how hard you all go every single day on behalf of the people who are experiencing these realities. And so just know, like I say to all of y'all whenever I get a chance, it's like where people are listening, and whether you think they're not paying attention, they are, because you all have shifted the conversation and you've made it a priority, and you should feel really proud about that.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We started with people like you, Andrea Campbell, and everyone who's continued to listen to us, because we've even gotten from some elected officials that we heard your group is we're like, whoa, we're just frustrated. Like, that's all, we don't mean to come with bad intentions. We just want action.
Yep. And so, I have been where you are. I still feel like I am who you are, like in many ways. I'm straddling these two worlds. And so I sympathize and I appreciate and I value the advocacy that you and your colleagues have been doing for a long time. And so thank you for your service. Thank you for going so hard for the people. Thank you for joining us this evening. I ran over, and I know my producers are going to be like, it's supposed to be a 30-minute show. And I'm like, oh my God, we're almost at 45 minutes. But this was such a great conversation that I didn't want to cut it out. So go ahead and tell us one more time, what's the best way to reach you and to connect with you?
So for the Masson Cast, follow the South End Roxbury Community Partnership at SEROXBURY. To follow my special education journey and the work with autism, follow Autism Sprinter. And to follow me directly, follow me at I Am the Momvacate. And that's on all social media handlings, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, even TikTok. But follow us. Julia, thank you for having me here. I appreciate your consistency and trying to do what you can to the best of your ability, and continuing to making sure that this message is heard and that you're listening and that you're going to do what you can within your power to help us get something done.
No, I always do, right? Mm-hmm. And whether I know about an issue or not, I figure I'm learning alongside you all. So I'm grateful for being in partnership with you all, however that looks, So thank you so much for joining us this evening. Everyone, this is Woke Women Wednesdays. Tune in next week, 8 o'clock at night. And don't forget, at 11 in the morning on Wednesday, you wake up with my sister and service Senator Diane Wilkerson. And don't forget to stay woke. Bye, y'all. Thank you.